Ivan Muller leads the field round in Valencia in Spain, round 17 of the 2011 FIA World Touring Car Championship. 6 points cover the top 2 in the overall charge. 2 points cover the top 4 in the Yokohama Trophy for the independent drivers. This has all the hallmarks of an epic encounter. Rolling start for the first 13-lap race of the afternoon. Muller on your right and Huff on your left as they come down following their grid markings, and this will be waved away. Nobody beyond about the top 6 is in their grid spots. This is probably going to not get a green light. No.
Yeah, that was all further back. They were just all over the place.
Yeah, and they all know the deal. And you know, the Nukias, the Paulsons, all those guys that were out of line. The rule is very, very simple, Harry. You must drive through the white grid box markings. There is no more black and white rule than that. You must do that.
Yeah.
You may not vary away into the middle of the track.
Yeah, you've got a speed which you're allowed to sit at, and look at that, it's a mess.
So the Danish flag's on the yellow Seat there and the BMW behind, and behind that, 2 rows behind, Stefano D'Aste was almost on the other side of the track's grid box.
Yeah, and D'Aste has probably been in this championship as long as anybody, really. Yeah. You should know better than that.
But you know, you should just see basically 2 blue cars and a few wing mirrors. You shouldn't see an entire Red Arrows formation sort of flanking out in echelon. It's like ducks and, you know, flying in a V formation there. Everybody's looking for a bit of ground. So this is an extra formation lap before we get the race. It will still go 13 laps, and frankly, our race director, Mirek Bartos, will keep them going round until he's happy that they are lined up in their grid boxes as they get to the start.
Yeah, last year at Marrakesh we had the exact same thing, and I remember getting waved by like 2 or 3 times, and in the end it makes you just focus. But perhaps they should dish out a few penalties, because it would stop. I'm not into giving penalties for no reason, but that's unacceptable, and it just happens.
Well, you're right, and Marrakesh actually is really the prime case in point. That was Mirek's very first race as ultimate arbiter of what happened. Now, when you're in the car and you're coming up there, you're coming out that last hairpin, you're so keyed up and ready to go. When do you realise what's going on? When you're waved by, had you got any idea at that stage why it happened?
Well, no, not really, because you don't necessarily see the cars all spreading behind you or wherever, in front of you, wherever they're doing it. But that was, I think, because of a speed infringement. There's too many cars going too fast, and it's difficult to, a lot of the time in this situation, you're trying not to hit the car in front. Everyone's jockeying and going faster, slower, and it's really actually quite hard to not hit each other.
So, again, the message will go out quite clearly from race control via the teams on the pit wall. Guys, come on, get back in line, get back in line. I mean, Huff led perfectly. You saw the 2 lines split. Huff and Muller doing exactly what they should do. D'Aste is still not even remotely in his grid box. And, you know, when you get a second wave by live on TV, that's when you should get the penalties applied. Well, you know, it was a lot closer, but not close enough. Menu moves inside. Huff's on the outside. This is a corner that in his long touring car career he has rarely survived, and Tarquini's inside both of the Chevys. Tarquini is going to take the lead into corner 2 from Ivan Muller. Menu's in trouble, bumping and boring with Montero, and I'm not sure who behind him, but Menu gets through. Around the outside goes Javi Villa. It is Gabriele Tarquini that leads, and Huff's on the inside of Menu of Muller, and Huff takes the inside line, but it comes back to the right-hander to Muller, and Menu's inside Huff and turns him round. That was contact between the 2 Chevys, I think. We'll see that from exterior shot. And Huff is going to come back on, but he's losing a lot of ground. What a dramatic start to the race. Well, I don't think that the race should have been started if the first was not safe to go or not sufficiently lined up to go. The second definitely wasn't. Tarquini made the most of the start, though, and takes the lead of the race, and Ivan Muller survived. Outside there is Javi Villa. Inside him, Christian Paulsen, who's come up 5 places to pass the Spaniard. Villa, who has raced here in GP2, going backwards fast. Paulsen is now up behind Tom Coronel. Coronel started 5th, Paulsen 12th. That's the kind of first lap it's been, Harry. Yeah. We're still only halfway round.
Yeah, absolute carnage at the start there. I don't know exactly what happened to Rob Huff there. I don't know if maybe I'm not sure if it's Tarquini and Montero. Well, it wasn't Tarquini, it must have been Montero.
There was Menu.
Was it Menu?
Menu came down inside him. I'm sure there was a flash of blue getting into Huff's back boot. We switched to the onboard view just as he was being spun. Now we ride with Ivan Muller. Gabriele Tarquini leads the race. And of course, with a fairly decent performance on a straight line from both cars, this is going to be about who can keep their tyres alive the longest. Perhaps the two most experienced, the two last world champions, the two only current world champions racing in the field are first and second. Tarquini will feel the pressure from Muller all the way through. Question is, can Muller get by? There's Yukinori Taniguchi's bumper trailing as Mehdi Benani looks inside him through corner 3. Tarquini with Muller. Muller's bringing heat, and Tarquini drifts a little wide. Muller's got a little bit of an overlap, but rubs, but can't sustain it into the second of the right-handers. And Harry, you know, this circuit flows one corner to the next, and they so often go from a right to a left, and there the road just didn't favour Muller enough. Three laps in, Gabriele Tarquini. In fact, this is the second racing lap. The first one has been counted by timing and scoring, so the full race distance has gone out to 14 rather than 13. The first lap was an extra formation lap, so Tarquini leads. Muller is going to be pushing and pushing and pushing all the way. And
Muller's going to want to get past here and then try and control the race from the front so he can control his own tyre wear. I think where it will, all of this jockeying around and battling for position is going to be hurting both of the tyres.
Incidentally, Huff update, he is in 11th place, so at the moment really struggling. Of course, that's not necessarily going to reflect on race 2 because they've already set their grid positions. He'll start 7th on the race 2 grid, no matter what else happens. Well,
the straight line speed's really evenly matched there.
Yeah,
there's
very even.
nothing in it whatsoever.
Very even, and Tarquini is just going to have to defend against Muller. And this sort of brings us a little bit back to Zolder, where Rob Huff was all over Tarquini for a long while and almost got a good clean run on him out of the back chicane, and then contact. Huff went off in the end and didn't manage to claim victory, but Tarquini could end up holding Muller off all the way around here. Don't forget, last year's race winners, Tarquini, Seat, Montero, Seat. Montero's 4th here, so who knows, lightning might just strike twice, but Montero's got a lot of pressure from behind. Coronel Paulson via Mikulits, 4 BMWs, pushing to try and get by his car as Muller tucks to the inside, and that's a great indication, as we've seen all year, of the composure of the Chevy Cruze chassis. That wasn't about braking, that was about getting the grip at the front of the car to turn inside Tarquini.
Yeah, he was able to brake a little bit later on turn as well, where Tarquini was obviously hanging on there to try and do the same, but just didn't have the match for the Cruze.
Well, the Seat's having to run really tight anti-roll bars at the back to try and combat the understeer that they're getting from the car as the temperatures rise and the tyres wear on this track. And it seems that the Chevy has got better early balance. Damage on the front of Alain Menu's car. Well, we don't have an exterior replay of that incident, so I'm going with my first call. I'm pretty sure there was a touch from behind from Alain Menu. He won't have punted Huff off in any way, but if a gap opens up on lap 1, you dive for it.
Yeah.
I think that's possibly what happened. Again, possibly in the braking area, he might have been punted from behind further on in the track than he wanted to as well.
I was going to say, certainly at the start there, a couple of the corners before that, there was a lot of checking up, people running at the back of each other, and it could well have just been a result of something like that.
It's a very common occurrence that the guy who actually knocks somebody off is 3 cars down, a domino effect, and he just gets pushed way beyond his turn-in point. Let's have a look again at the start. Watch Tarquini on the right of the track, and there's Menu already trying to get by Montero. Menu goes early inside. Watch the Swiss flag on the red roof. Montero goes early inside, but Tarquini eases Muller offline, gets inside. Muller here, frankly, he's watching Huff. He doesn't care about Tarquini at that stage. He's denying Huff the chance to come by him.
Yeah, and I mean, it was all pretty clean there, but you know, it could have so easily gone very pear-shaped. I actually honestly thought that there was going to be a bit of an impact going in that first corner. Free at that corner just doesn't work.
Well, they managed to get away with it because Tarquini got the move done. They weren't 3 wide at the middle point of the corner. Well, here now is the BMW battle. Tom Coronel in 5th, Christian Poulsen leading the Yokohama Trophy runners in 6th, ahead of Javi Villa.
And Poulsen's going to be desperate to get past Coronel here, because they're all coming up behind him, and it's a matter of, that's a recipe for disaster when you've got a big clan of people trying to oust you.
Umberto Grana there with the white hair. He runs Royal Motorsport with world champion driver Roberto Ravaglia. And he will be looking at his driver, Tom Coronel, and wondering why they are struggling for pace with Poulsen, Villa, Mikulits and all behind them in BMWs looking to get by. Because it's clear the 3 independents behind Coronel all look like they can go quicker if they can get by Tom. In the pits is our newcomer. This is David Sigasev, and in the gravel again, Mehdi Banani. That's exactly where he went off in qualifying on Freddie Bart. Broken upright. Bart gets into Banani and Duducarlo. So Freddie Bart, chatted to him this morning. He's saying, oh, season started so well and it's just going so wrong at the moment, and didn't get much righter there, did it?
No, that's a little bit messy, isn't it?
Well, that was a 3-wide incident, and it kind of looks, to give him the benefit of the doubt, as if Bart was caught out by Duducarlo and Banani kind of arguing and braking a little early. He came in so fast behind to make contact there.
It looked like Duducarlo maybe launched up the inside at the last minute, and perhaps he didn't quite see him coming. Obviously there's no room because Banani was on the outside, and that was the result.
Well, they're on page 2 of our timing screen, so we can't tell what the positions were, I'm afraid, before that, because we only have page 1. Meanwhile, Huff has moved past Mika Nukia, and so in the back of this shot, behind there is Huff. So he's by Nukia and up into 9th place now in the points. Investigation into the incident between car 8 and 2. Also need to include car 25. So 8 and 2 is Huff and Menu. And they will also investigate the incident with car 25, which you see is Mehdi Banani, also with Freddie Bart, car 7, and Alexei Duducarlo, car 4, I would imagine.
Now, I think we're going to start to see the tyres dropping off. If we look at Muller and Tarquini, you've both just set their personal best and their outright fastest lap on the previous lap, which is quite late into the race, so they must have had their tyres pressured up to do that, obviously. Yeah. I really would not be surprised to see the time start tumbling from now, and the BMWs, it depends on the gap, but they could still come back.
Well, we've got 8 laps to go, so we're just about at the middle distance. Don't forget, the first of the 6 laps they've completed was just a formation lap. So we've had 5 racing laps. We're on lap 6 of racing speed laps. Yeah. I wonder if we haven't seen a replay, I wonder what the stewards are going to have access to try and decide what happened between Menu and Huff. Menu, to be honest, will probably explain what I think we saw, which is that it was an unintentional consequence of racing on the first lap. I mean, but if there's no video replay, then he can just say, wasn't me, Gov, I didn't do anything at all, and it's very hard to prove otherwise. On board with Montero, looking back at Javi Villa, who's coming up the inside. Montero, we now learn, will be investigated by the stewards. But again, you then have to back that up another car and look at what Javi Villa's part in the Rob Huff incident was, because he then, as now, was battling Montero. Montero, clearly, it seems, made contact with Menu, so Menu was not in full control of his car, through no fault of his own when he hit Huff and put Huff off, but was Montero in his turn in full control, or had he had contact with Villa? And you can't go all the way back the chain and blame the guy at the very back for a tiny touch on somebody. Sometimes you just have to say, do you know what? It just happened. Yeah. It was lap 1 of a World Championship race.
You've got more than 20 cars all braking in the same or thereabouts, same sort of place, and it's really difficult to see where your braking point is when you're in this melee. You're sat so low in the car, and everyone just checks up in front of you, and it's not intentionally, you sometimes can't help it.
Norbert Mikulis' garage you saw watching as he charges up behind Thiago Montero. This is the battle now for 7th place. There you see Menu in 2nd, the BMWs of Coronel 3rd, Poulsen there 4th with the red flag on the roof. Then Rob Huff 5th in the blue Chevrolet, ahead of Javi Villa in 6th position now. Montero in 7th with Mikulis right behind. In the independents, points battle. Christian Poulsen, who was 1 point off the lead held by Norbert Michelis, leads the category, with Michelis now third in the independence points. But again, we're looking at the final third of the season starting here, not the final third of the race. So it's going to be, again, pinch an inch here, give an inch there in the points battle. The one victim really is Franz Ensler, who's standing below us in the pit lane. So his 2 point off the lead is suddenly going to disappear, because somebody's going to get 25 more than he does.
And Darrell O'Young's obviously had a stinker as well, because I noticed he was right at the back at the start and seems to be struggling for pace there, so I don't know if he's got a problem as well.
Well, we saw the bumper hanging off Yukinori Taniguchi's Bamboo Engineering Chevy Cruze, and O'Young is behind him, so they're 14th and 15th. On board with Huffy. And that is Javi Villa closing on the Chevrolet. Of course, this is the other factor. Huff has had to work twice as hard to get to fifth place as Muller has to stay in the lead. Yeah. So now he's falling victim to the BMWs. Look at the difference. I mean, the Cruze has got the best chassis balance out there, and he couldn't hold as tight a line as the BMW, and you don't often hear me saying things like that.
No, he's definitely going to be struggling now. When he got pushed sideways, you just saw the front tyres light up, and that split second of creating all that smoke, and you've got to think how much rubber that's put down, and that flash of heat that it put through the tyres as well.
Well, 2 laps ago he was closing on Poulsen. Now Poulsen's driving away, and Villa is all over Huff. And what Rob Huff really needs to do is, if he has to give the place away, don't go off trying to defend it. Get some points, because when he was facing the wrong way on lap 1, that didn't look likely. Now he's got to limit the damage that Ivan Muller can do. Muller will take the championship lead away from him in this race now, but Huff has got to score something. Villa's going to come. He is going to come, and he's going to keep coming. I mean, look at the front of his car in your mirrors, Rob. You know he's been in the action. You've watched it from behind. Don't feel too much of it from behind you. Meanwhile, Norbert Michelis has just gone by Thiago Monteiro for 7th. Well, there is Norbert Michelis' garage. He's gone up to 7th. Huff defends on the inside against Villa. He doesn't want to give away a single point if he can help it, Harry, because if he gets to the casino on Sunday night in Macau, having allowed too easy a pass from Villa here, and is a point away from being world champion, then, you know, every single time you're in these situations, you've got to be thinking it might decide the championship for me, and you've got to make the best judgment call. Yeah, you can't afford to let him through, especially now with Ivan leading away at the front there. Rob has to score as many points as he possibly can, and on the flip side, like you said before, he can't afford to be taken off by Villa, who's not really in his championship battle at all. So it's a tough one for Rob. But on the flip side, if he lets Villa go, well, if he keeps him behind him and Poulsen checks up as well, he could end up losing more than one place. Well, now the other thing that I noticed halfway around that lap, as we go on to the last lap, as Huff was defending against Villa, Villa's car getting very sideways off the corners, and he's now got company. He's got heat from behind himself, because Michelis is there in the black and orange car. That is an independent points battle that Michelis needs to win. So he is bringing attention to Villa, which will distract him undoubtedly from Huff. We're on board now with Robert Dahlgren. Started 17th. He's now up to 9th place. Hasn't quite made the progress he'd wanted. Huff arrives just with the tiny overlap in the double right-hander, holds on, but now comes the trouble with Michelis. Huff's got a BMW in either mirror, must defend against both, but Villa's got to try and defend against Michelis and Monteiro and Dahlgren and Daste. That's the group behind as we look back from Rob Huff. Muller must be a couple of corners from victory, but Huff is clinging on tenaciously to 5th place, and as much as Muller's win, this 5th place for Huff is going to be absolutely vital for his morale. Knocked off through no fault of his own on the first lap, and fighting like Billy-O for the difference between 5th and 6th, or as it now looks, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Who knows how far go? You know, if Villa knocks you offline, who knows how far you'll go back? You could drop right out of the points. So this is absolutely champion driving from Rob Huff as well as from Ivan Muller. Yeah. There's the Chevy 1-2, Muller and Menu, 1.3 seconds apart, and for Muller, after he got by Tarquini, a relatively easy race, but it must have been a worrying first corner. For Huff, though, every corner has been a worrying corner. This is a hard race for him. Coronel's on the podium in third. Poulsen is fourth and top independent. Huff takes fifth ahead of Villa, and then Michaelis Montero Dahlgren as they come across the line ahead of Stefano D'Aste.
That was a great recovery drive from Rob there at the end there. It must have been really tempting to just think, you know what, I don't need to fight this guy, but you know, he drove the widest Chevrolet I think I've ever seen there, and that was, you know, he has to do that.
Now, the best lap of the race by Rob Huff, 1:45.46. His teammates, Menu did a 45.26 and Muller did a 45.13. So, Huff didn't even have the quickest Chevrolet. That's an impressive performance. That is real, you know, up against it, nitty-gritty time, and he came up there with as good a result as you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, no, it was a great battle at the end there, and he did well to hang on to it. Must have been a nightmare, because that you could see the BMs coming off the corners much faster, and as we saw, look at the times, all the front wheel drives have dropped off at least 2 seconds from their optimum lap time.
Yeah, absolutely right. And the BMWs kept their performance closer at the end of the race to where it was at the start. But for Ivan Muller, it's his fourth win in 5 starts. This is really a purple patch for the Frenchman. Maybe the new haircut has helped, maybe it hasn't. We'll find out what he thought. But again, you think, you know, Gabriele Tarquini, the way he started, taking the lead inside both Chevys, what could have been for him will end with a very different what certainly wasn't. And Tarquini ending up in the pits and in retirement.
Menu drove very well there as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
To get all the way up there. And he came through all that melee at the start pretty much unscathed, and obviously the little touch of Rob, which as we know wasn't his fault, somebody ran into.
No, absolutely. I mean, Menu in 6th place on the grid for one thing was on the outside line, which is never a great place to be in the first corner. And he went left, and he went left early, didn't he? It's like he was, you know, in the fast lane on the motorway, saw the gap to get into the traffic to go to the slip road. So, yeah, he went left early, hard up against the grass. OK, nobody's coming inside me. Now all I got to do is brace for impact in case somebody hits me from behind under braking. So, yeah, he got his cards on the table nice and early, and he benefited from it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, another example of how Chevrolet have been dominating this season. You know, obviously 1-2, and then Rob coming home in 5th as well. It's a great result for the team, for the championship.
Very good stuff indeed.